style house on Apple Street. It's going to be a new museum. At the end of the mural, though, if you look directly up, you can see three identical silver buildings. That's Gateway Center. Gateway Center 1, the building closest to us, is home to KDKA, which is the nation's oldest commercial radio station. It was founded in 1920, and in its inaugural year, it had the first commercial radio broadcast, where they reported the results from the 1920 presidential election, which is FYI, that was Warren G. Harding that year. Further up in the city skyline, you see that tan building that comes to a point with the Highmark logo on it and the blue windows. That is Fifth Avenue Place. That spire on the top is 13 stories tall. It's apparently an indicator from the architect of how tall he wanted his building to be, but the city wouldn't let him. When he presented his plan to the city, they said where that tower's going, it needs to be shorter. So he went back and he made it shorter. But the reason they set that limitation is because, starting at the point and going farther back into the city, you'll notice that the buildings gradually get taller the further back they are. That was a deliberate choice by the city, and it's one of the reasons why Pittsburgh has such a nice skyline. Now, we're going underneath the first of our three sister bridges. These are three identical self-anchored suspension bridges. When the last one was done being constructed in 1928, these three were the first self-anchored suspension bridges in the country. All three are named after notable Pittsburghers. This first one, that's currently getting refurbished, is named after Roberto Clemente. Clemente was a Puerto Rican baseball player who played right field for the Pirates from 1955 until 1972. But it was in 72 that he had lost his life in a plane crash. He was on that plane because he was trying to deliver aid to earthquake victims in Nicaragua. He was a great humanitarian, very involved in his community, and just an overall awesome human being. He's a Pittsburgh hero. And Major League Baseball renamed their Commissioner Award to the Roberto Clemente Award. It's issued once a year to one player that exemplifies outstanding sportsmanship and community engagement. This next bridge is named after Andy Warhol, but when he was growing up in Pittsburgh, he went by Andy Warhola. Warhola grew up with his working class family in the Oakland neighborhood, kind of a shy, kind of insecure kid. The Sycamore students that he had come home from school. So he had plenty of time to work on his art, on his insatiable art streak that he had. He was heavily encouraged by his mother, Julia Warhola, to develop his artwork as well. And in 1949, he left Pittsburgh for New York City to make a living as a commercial artist, but eventually morphed into the pop artist that we know him to be today. He didn't have a fantastic opinion of his hometown, but we don't hold that against him, because on the north end of the Warhol Bridge, we have the Andy Warhol Museum, the most comprehensive art museum that's dedicated to a single artist. And this final bridge is named after Rachel Carson. Carson was a marine biologist and environmentalist. In 1962, she wrote Silent Spring, the book that laid out the dangers of the man-made chemical DDT and the negative effect of having wildlife especially. There are environmental laws still on the books today that were influenced by Carson's research. Now, if you look to the right back up to the cityscape, you can see that tall, dark building that says UPMC on it. That is the U.S. Steel Building. It opened in 1971.